to share my top 10 predictions for the season before it comes out. Literally so excited for this. I was originally gonna work tomorrow still and then binge watch the whole thing after work, and then I'm actually going on a trip with my family on Friday, so it was gonna kind of work like that. But then today I'm like, you know what, I have the vacation days, and so I'm taking tomorrow off so I can watch it right at 1 a.m. when it comes out my time. We'll see if I can binge watch the whole thing, because I just found out that on average the episodes are like 59 minutes long, when the previous season they were like on average 51 minutes long. So it will legitimately take an entire 8 hours to watch the whole season. We'll see if I can make it through without taking any sleeping breaks. I was gonna take a nap this evening, but it took me extra time to get this video ready and out, so I don't think that's happening anymore. But anyway, I have my top 10 predictions written down and ready to share with you guys. If you are new here, I do prediction videos like this a lot, although I think this is the first time I've done it for a TV show. It's almost always like Marvel movies, you know, Fantastic Beasts movies, and stuff like that. I kind of have it set up where I like to do a predictions video right before, and then after the movie, or now show, comes out, I make a review where half of my review video is reacting to how well I did on my predictions, and the goal is always to get at least half of them right. So today my video does include 10 predictions, and the way I format them is I've created like a question to answer, and then I'm gonna answer those questions, and that's how I do the predictions. And I've tried to make it in such a way that there's like gonna be a definite answer to each of these questions, and so that I can definitely score whether I got them right after seeing this season. But anyway, let's get into it. Fair warning for you guys, if you are a show-only fan, as in someone who hasn't read any of the books, this video is going to contain spoilers from the books, because I'm going to be comparing stuff that happens into the books and making predictions out of that. So spoilers for the entire Shadow and Bone trilogy, as well as the Six of Crows duology. If you don't mind knowing spoilers from the books with the understanding that this may or may not be how it happens in the show, then you can go ahead and watch. But if you don't want to hear this sort of stuff, maybe this isn't the video for you. And then also, I have been totally deep diving into almost anything I could find Shadow and Bone promotional material over the past month, and so if you've been wanting to go into it blind without like hearing tidbits from cast interviews and you know, leaks and behind the scenes stuff, then maybe it's also not for you either, because I'll be talking about some of that sort of stuff too. You may notice the majority of the predictions have to do with the Crows storyline, and I think that's for two reasons. One is I kind of gravitate toward that storyline a little bit more, and because like that, I've read those books twice, and I didn't actually read the Shadow and Bone trilogy until just this past weekend. I read the whole thing for the first time. And then two, because it's actually original content, like it's an original storyline for them, so there's more to predict about, whereas like the predictions regarding the Shadow and Bone or Siege and Storm storyline are more likely to be, well, is this gonna be the same as in the books? So, but anyway, let's go into speaking of that. Prediction number 1, what parts of Ruin and Rising are going to be included in season 2? So this is a heavily debated topic, because I feel like there's been a lot of misunderstanding out there based on some articles from the past few months, where articles said that parts of Ruin and Rising will be included in the storyline, and people took that to understand that this season was going to cover the entire storyline of both books, which I just don't think is feasible, given the fact that they're also working with an original storyline for the Crows. And then again, that could also be them teasing the fact that it does include the whole thing without giving it away, so we won't know until it actually comes out. But if we're under the assumption that it's just parts of Ruin and Rising that are being brought into season 2, that begs the question, which part? And another way to phrase this question is like, where will season 2 end? Like in the storyline, the overall storyline of Alina. Now, my answer to this question is that I think that they're still gonna end at the same place, like the climactic battle in the cathedral, but I think they're going to make things that happen in Ruin and Rising happen earlier, specifically, and this is the thing I'm gonna grade myself on, is one, if it ends at the, end scene of Siege and Storm, but then also includes a big portion of Jenya's character arc and storyline, specifically the quote, like, I am not ruined, I'm ruination, and the entire storyline about poisoning the king and figuring out what she actually did to do that, and the king being forced to step down from the throne to give it to Nikolai. So I think they're just gonna make that storyline take place earlier on, whereas like the overall Alina versus Darkling thing is still gonna end at the same place. Prediction number 2 is based on the question, will it be revealed that Jesper is a fabricator? Now, obviously this happens later on because it happens about midway through Six of Crows. But I really think that yes, they are gonna reveal it in this season for a few different reasons. One of them being that they teased it in the first season, so I just don't think they would not give us some payoff for that for people who like only watch the show and have no idea what that was about. I know me, as someone who watched the show first, that was one of the things that I was most curious about coming out of season 1. And then also with the fact that we know we're gonna get some of Jesper's backstory. His mom has been cast. I'm wondering if we're gonna see Comb too. I don't know. But it's hard to do Jesper's backstory without going into depth on that, because otherwise what do we get? His mom teaching him how to shoot? That's it. Really. So yeah, that's my prediction. Yes, we are gonna find out that Jesper is a fabricator. Prediction number 3 answers the question, will Kaz figure out who Nikolai is? And this is of course based on the scene in Crooked Kingdom where Nikolai introduces himself to him as Sturmhond, but Kaz is able to figure out who he is. And we've seen from promotional materials that they're going to be working together in this season, and I just think it would be such a missed opportunity if we didn't get that in this season, because obviously they can't do it later on if they do end up being able to adapt the Six of Crows and Crooked Kingdom storylines. So I want it to happen in this season. This prediction was mainly brought on by the fact that this is one of the top things that I wrote down that I do want to see in the season. I was gonna make 2 separate videos, one of the things I wanted to see and then one of predictions, but because of time, I kind of combined them together into this one video. So the reason I'm predicting this is because I just want to see it. So yes, I think that Kaz will guess who Nikolai is. Like, he'll be introduced to him as Sturmhond and figure out that he is Prince Nikolai. Prediction number 4 is, how will Per Haskell be introduced? I remember reading some tidbits actually quite a while ago that mentioned that Per Haskell would be introduced in this season and how like this season will go into details about what brings Kaz to him. And so my prediction here is answering that question of how does he get involved with Per Haskell? And I'm answering this based on the fact that we got the first 7 minutes of episode 1 today. So I have already watched the first 7 minutes of the first episode, and that included the fact that apparently while they were gone, the Crow Club was taken over and became the Kalish Prince, which is interesting because that means that's happening a lot earlier on. And differently, obviously, than in the books. And so my prediction is that because of that, they no longer have the Crow Club, Kaz will go to Per Haskell in need of someone to help him re-establish the Crow Club. And speaking of the Kalish Prince, my prediction number 5 is based on the question of what on earth are they doing with Albie Rollins already in the show? I saw earlier this week on the Grishaverse subreddit that apparently Albie Rollins has been cast and is in at least 2 episodes. When that is actually quite a big reveal at the end of Crooked kingdom. So that's interesting. So that then begs the question, are we gonna get Kaz exacting his full revenge on Pekka Rollins in this season? Why would they bring in Albie before then? But I think that with Albie, it's just gonna be small scenes kind of leading up to it. Maybe we're gonna see Kaz discover that Pekka has a son, but we're not gonna get like the whole I buried your son alive scene in Crooked Kingdom. I think it's more likely that the revenge that Kaz is getting in this season is for some of the more minor characters in his backstory, or like Tanta Helene, because maybe she's the one who sold the Crow Club to Pekka Rollins. So I think it's likely that with Albie, we're just gonna see Kaz discover that Pekka has a son and like watch their interactions and be like brick by brick, but not actually do anything yet. Now, speaking of Kaz's backstory, prediction number 6 is based on the question, are we gonna get all of Kaz's backstory? Meaning, are we gonna see the entire story all the way down to Jordy dying and Kaz using him as a freaking floaty to swim back to Ketterdam? Oh my gosh. It's gonna be But my answer to this question, my prediction is yes, we're gonna see all of it. First of all, I think I've seen that the actors for both Jordy and young Kaz are gonna be in quite a few episodes. And then also, I think they're just bringing in a lot of things earlier now into the show, which I'm totally fine with. And I feel like if they introduce the beginning of his story without completing the entire arc of his traumatic childhood experiences in this season, it won't give like the closure to that portion, you know. And then also, again, kind of like the Jesper fabricator thing, it was very slightly teased in the first season about Kaz wearing his gloves, and I think it would be in their best interest to give the show only fans payoff for that in this season. And on to prediction number 7. This one is answering the question, are we going to get any reference or cameo or hint toward Kawaii or his father Boyul Bayor? And I'm gonna say yes, even though I feel like it might actually not be super likely. I think that it would be a perfect thing for them to tease this season if they go the route of like splitting it back up and having like the Six of Crows be its own spin-off. So like teasing towards that and like trying to get the green light for that show, teasing the fans about that will definitely cause some hype for it, even though I'm sure there's plenty of hype for it already. I just think that it's a perfect thing for them to tease at some point in the season. Prediction number 8 answers the question, are we gonna get the Just Girls line from Jesper and Wylan? I'm kind of rolling this entire prediction up with a bunch of things I just wanted to talk about, because 2 of the things in my like list of 3 top things I wanted to see that I was starting to write for my other video I was gonna make, and then I decided to combine it back into this one, was Jesper related stuff. The number 1 thing I wanted to see going into it for the past few months is just like the Jesper meeting scene, like the tannery scene in the book. And they kind of gave that to us already, although it's implied based on that clip that they already shared that they've met before that. So I'm wondering if we're still getting the tannery scene or if it's just another like small meeting or something before that. I was gonna make a short video just completely about this, being like, book scene, this is the number 1 thing that I want to see in season 2, and I've been thinking about this for the past few months. And you know what? I'm okay if it doesn't happen exactly the same as in the books. I just need the vibes. The vibes. Like, for instance, one of my favorite quotes in the book is where it says, like, Jesper had been stuck between wanting to taunt Wylan into a blush and flirt him into a corner, and like those are all the vibes I want from Jesper this season. And then the other thing I wrote down as something I wanted to see in the season is I was hoping that we would get more of, you know, bi Jesper, because in the first season, I watched it before reading the books. I totally thought he was gay. So I want to see him flirting with everyone this season, because then, whether or not we get the Just Girls line this season or later on in a Six of Crows spin-off, cross our fingers that happens, that line just wouldn't make sense if Wyland doesn't see Jesper just flirting with a lot of girls, you know? But anyway, wrapping that all up into my actual prediction, answering the question, are we gonna get the Just Girls line in this season? You know, they teased us so bad in that interview. The flang one, talking about the fan slaying and Jesper, and then Kit Young and Jack Wolf were like acted out the scene. I noticed that the way they said it was slightly different from the books, but the way that Kit Young introduced it was, there's a great line from the books. Obviously not giving away the fact that it is in the season if it is, but it totally could be, and they could just be teasing us. And I think it's totally possible because the new storyline for the Crows characters in the show is kind of like a prequel to the Six of Crows duology, and it makes sense for them to take some of the character development, relationship development that takes place later on and moving it up to this part. Especially since I feel like if they do get greenlit for a Six of Crows spin-off, it would make sense to me if they did the entire duology in one season as a limited series, because the entire story itself is really just one story. There's just lots of twists and turns and things going wrong and having to reassess plans and complexity to it. But I think it would really work out as its own season, just specifically all about that. And if they do end up doing that, I think it would also make sense to move some stuff earlier on into Shadow and Bone Season 2, including the Just Girls line. And so I think my final prediction is yes, it's gonna be in it. Now, on to my last two predictions. These predictions are hard because I still, I feel like when I wrote down all my predictions, I kind of sorted them in order from like the most confident to the least confident. And these last two, I don't really actually have like a super concrete answer for them, but I'm putting them out there anyway. Prediction number 9 is answering the question of what the heck is going on with Matthias's plotline, because it's been all but confirmed that he is not gonna be broken out of Hellgate during the season, because in some cast interviews, Callahan Skogman revealed that he didn't have any scenes with the actors for Kaz and Inej, and so then that asks the question, like, what is he even doing the whole time in Hellgate? And then the other thing is, I have heard that they've done well with his storyline to actually tie it into the rest of the overall storyline, which really makes me curious what they did there. And so I think my prediction is that his storyline is going to involve him like trying to break out or free himself in Hellgate, but to no avail. It doesn't happen. And then to connect things back, I think he's gonna hear about things while he's in Hellgate, like political things that relate back to the overall story. And then on to the last prediction. Prediction number 10 is answering the question, what is the unexpected or shocking thing that happens at the end of this season? And this is coming because of, from cast interviews, we heard Amita Subin say there's something shocking at the end. And the main predictions I've heard are people thinking, oh no, that means Inej is gonna leave the Crows? What? I've also heard people predicting, and I don't know if this is necessarily related to that comment that I'm basing this prediction off of, that maybe Nikolai is gonna turn into the monster earlier in the show, because he's there in like the scene in the chapel at the end in the pictures we can see, and maybe it happens then instead of later on, like halfway through Ruin and Rising is where it happens in the books. But I'm not gonna say in either of those. I think it is a possibility that Inej leaves, but I really don't want it to happen. And then at the same time, I'm also thinking they probably wouldn't do it anyway, because I think they want to leave themselves open to being able to make the Six of Crows spinoff. And if Inej is off who knows where, then that's not a thing that can happen right away after this season. But then the problem is, I don't know what else it could be. Like, I hadn't no prediction written down right now. But I just had an idea. I think that, and this isn't even gonna completely answer the question, but I think that this, whatever shocking thing that has been mentioned happens at the end of the season, is the same thing that Lee Bardugo was referencing when she said that the writers brought in something from the Lives of the Saints that she didn't even expect. I think they're the same thing. And now I haven't read Lives of the Saints. I barely got around to reading the Shadow and Bone trilogy just this past weekend, and I'd have to get my hands on a copy of that to actually make predictions about what this specific thing is. So I'm sorry that this isn't like a super detailed prediction, but that is my prediction, that the two things, the shocking thing at the end is the thing that has something to do with the Lives of the Saints. So yeah, that's my 10 predictions. Whew. I would love to hear your guys' predictions, so let me know down in the comments what your predictions are for season 2, or if you're happening upon this video after seeing season 2 of Shadow and Bone, let me know what your predictions were, whether they happened or not, and if you feel like you were shocked by anything in the season. But anyway, thank you for watching this video. Don't forget to leave a like if you enjoyed it, and subscribe, which you can do by clicking over there. Check out some more of my videos. Up top is the video I made earlier this week about my top 10 favorite moments from season 1 of Shadow and Bone, and underneath that is a new playlist of all of my Shadow and Bone related videos. Thank you for watching, and I will see you guys next time.